All right, lovely. Okay, so welcome to tonight's yoga class. We're looking at, or continuing to look at some of our chakras. So tonight it's the throat chakra. Again, as always, don't worry too much if you don't kind of sign up to those sorts of things. But it's all about kind of finding that voice. So if you want to hold that as your intention, you can. If you just want to have a nice stretch, that's lovely too. As always, please look after your body and listen to your body. So if anything doesn't feel good, just come out of the pose or rest. Here we go, just let sub in. So we're going to start in a comfortable seated position. So wherever feels good for you, just finding something nice, maybe bringing a cushion under your bottom if that feels better for you. And then just rolling the shoulders away from the ears, finding some length through the spine. And maybe just drawing the eyes to close for a moment. Just noticing how your body feels tonight. Noticing any sore bits or stiff bits. And breathing into those areas. Maybe thinking about your throat and neck area. Maybe thinking about finding your voice tonight, if that resonates with you. Breathing nice and deeply, finding that length through the spine. And as you breathe out, just letting go of everything from the day. Take a few breaths all together here, breathing in through the nose. Really filling the whole of the body, the whole of the lungs with every inhalation. And then exhaling out through the mouth, just sighing everything out. Letting everything go. Breathing in again through the nose, really filling the whole of the lungs here. And then breathing out again through the mouth, sighing everything out. Maybe making some noise as you breathe out. One more inhalation here. Really drawing this breath in for as long as we can, really finding growth and expansion in the body as we do. And really breathing out this time, really forcing the air out, making some noise as you exhale completely. Lovely, opening the eyes on your next inhalation. And then we'll bring our right hand to the outside edge of our left knee, our left hand behind us. Again, inhaling, finding that length through the spine. And exhaling, twisting open to the left. Breathing nice and deeply here, finding that twist, finding that length through the spine. Inhaling, coming back to center. And exhaling, releasing the left hand to the outside edge of the right knee, the right hand behind you. Again, finding length here through the spine, really trying to rise up through the crown of the head. And then as you exhale, opening up to the right, breathing nice and deeply here. Finding that length as we inhale, maybe a slightly deeper twist as we exhale. Trying to keep the chin in line, nice and long spine. Then inhaling, coming back to center, bringing the hands back to the knees, just rolling out the shoulders a bit, getting some movement in here. Breathing nice and deeply. We'll roll over our feet now, come into all fours, or making your way into all fours. Finding that nice long spine, making sure the wrists are under the shoulders and the knees under the hips. And then we'll take a few rounds of cat-cow here. So as we inhale, dropping the tummy, opening up the chest to the front of the room, breathing in. As we exhale, rounding the back, really trying to root through the fingertips here. And then just continuing through the two poses in time to your own breath. Trying to find that nice long spine and even curve in both poses. And maybe maintaining that nice, slow, even breath. Allowing the breath to lead the movement. Warming up the spine and the whole body here. Breathing nice and deeply. Just a couple more breaths here. And then on your next inhalation, coming back to center, back to that nice long spine. Really drawing the tummy button up towards the spine here. So we're really rooting through the fingertips, finding that length through the spine. And then we'll just walk the hands forward towards the top of the mat. Maybe coming down to your elbows here. Maybe walking the hands a bit further forward and sinking all the way down onto the mat, bringing your forehead to the mat, or if it feels good, maybe even your chin and your chest down towards the mat. But just listening to your body, doing what feels good for you, making sure you don't force anything, just allowing your body to find its natural stretch here. And breathing nice and deeply, finding that length and space in the front body as we stretch out in the back. And then inhaling, lifting from the chest, lifting from the tummy, walking the hands back underneath you. And exhaling, just sinking back for a moment into a child's pose. Maybe bringing the knees nice and wide, the outside edges of the mat, hands out in front of you. Breathing nice and deeply here, really feeling the back body. Remembering that we're three-dimensional people, so we need to stretch out all sides of us. And then on your next inhalation, just coming back into all fours again, finding that nice long spine. Really bringing that tummy up towards the spine here, trying to engage the core, rolling the elbows to the top edge of the mat here. So we're keeping the shoulders nice and aligned. Inhaling, tucking the toes. And then as we exhale, just sending the tailbone back and up into a downward facing dog, rooting through the fingertips. Breathing nice and deeply, maybe keeping the knees bent here, maybe walking out the heels. Just listening to your body. Still breathing nice and deeply, finding that nice long breath. Nice even inhalations and exhalations. And then we'll come to a moment of stillness, finding that length through the spine, maybe still keeping the knees bent, making sure we're more focused on a long spine than straight legs. And then on your next exhalation, rounding the back and walking the feet up in between the hands, folding all the way over bent legs. Maybe taking hands to opposite elbows here, just swaying it out, releasing the head, shoulders, neck down towards the ground. Breathing nice and deeply, enjoying this moment of ragdoll. And then inhaling, sweeping the arms out beside you and up overhead. And exhaling, releasing hands down beside you, finding that nice long spine here. Lovely. And then we'll inhale again, sweep the arms up overhead. And exhale, fold forward from the hips, finding that nice long spine, keeping the chin in line, chin slightly tucked, and then rounding over bent legs. Inhaling, coming up halfway, rolling the shoulders away from the ears. Think about bringing that chin up towards the back of your head slightly. And exhaling, releasing all the way over bent legs. Step our right foot back behind us and drop our knee. We'll inhale, come up into a low lunge. Lovely. We'll bring our left hand to the back of our left hip. And bring our right hand out at a kind of 45-degree angle from our shoulder, lovely. And then cup, imagine you're cupping something, so lifting the right hand up towards the top of the room. Just keeping that left hand there, making sure we're keeping our hips nice and neutral. Rolling the shoulders away from the ears. And then maybe as we exhale, just tilting our head over to the left, opening up the right side of the neck. Breathing nice and deeply here. And then inhaling, coming back to center. Exhaling, releasing both hands to the mat. And stepping back either into a plank or all fours or half plank to suit you. Breathing nice and deeply here. Finding that length through the spine. And then we'll exhale, bringing the knees down first if they're not already. And then bringing the chin and chest down to the mat. And then sliding forward. Bringing the forehead and the tops of the feet down to the mat. We'll slide our hands forward now. So our elbows come under our shoulders. It lifts our heart up, our head up towards the front of the room, coming into a Sphinx pose. And then imagine, without pulling your elbows back past your shoulders, imagine scraping your hands, your forearms backwards to the back of the room and opening your heart up forward, lengthening through the spine, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. Imagine that thread pulling the crown of your head upwards and breathing nice and deeply here. Just pausing here for another breath, maybe smiling. And then exhaling, sliding the hands down to your chest and bringing the head back down to the ground. Just pausing here for a moment. And your next inhalation, tucking the toes underneath you, rolling the shoulders away from the ears, and pushing up halfway into a half plank or a full plank if you feel like it. Exhaling, releasing into a downward facing dog. Breathing nice and deeply here for a moment. Finding that length through the spine, grounding through the hands. And then as we exhale, rounding the back, bringing the chin to the chest and walking the feet up towards the hands, folding over the legs. Inhaling, sweeping the arms out beside you and up overhead. And exhaling, releasing, hands down beside you. Lovely. Again, we'll inhale, find that length through the spine, really reaching up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, folding forwards from the hips, keeping the knees soft or bent. And rounding the back when you can't keep it straight anymore. We'll inhale, open up, coming up to our halfway lift, bringing the shoulders away from the ears. Bringing some awareness to our chin here. Think about bringing our chin towards our spine a little so our head is nice and long. And then exhaling, releasing all the way over the legs again. This time stepping the left foot back behind us and dropping the knee. Squeezing the inner thighs towards each other. We'll inhale and come up into a low lunge. Breathing nice and deeply here. Lovely. This time we'll bring the right hand to the back of our right hip, just bringing some awareness there, keeping it nice and in line. And the left hand out behind us, and imagine cupping something, so lifting the fingers up, rolling the shoulders away from the ears here, making sure that we've got that nice long spine. And then exhaling, releasing head over right shoulder, opening up the left side of the neck here, breathing nice and deeply. Again, making sure we're not forcing anything in our bodies here. And then inhaling, coming back to center. Exhaling, releasing the hands over that front foot and stepping back into a plank or half plank to suit you. Breathing nice and deeply, finding that space between the shoulder blades here. And then exhaling, lowering the knees, lowering the chin and the chest down to the mat. And then sliding forward, So we come onto our front, making a nice long line, untucking the toes, bringing the forehead down to the ground, bringing the hands either side of our chest. We'll inhale, we'll come up into a cobra this time, finding space between the shoulder blades, breathing nice and deeply here. One more inhalation here. And then exhaling, releasing back down to the mat. Inhaling, tucking the toes and pushing up halfway. This time, exhaling, coming back into a child's pose. Breathing nice and deeply here, finding length in the spine, keeping that chin tucked towards your chest. Then inhaling, rolling forward into all fours, finding that length in the spine, that grounding down through the hands. Walking the hands forward and bringing the forearms down to the ground. Finding a bit of puppy pose here, a bit of a back bend. And then as we inhale, we're going to tuck the toes and see if we can roll forward into a plank on our forearms. So forearm plank here. Just coming onto your knees if this feels a bit too much. Breathing nice and deeply here, finding some length through the spine, keeping that chin tucked so the crown of the head's going towards the front of the room. And then exhaling, releasing the knees and coming down onto the mat. Walking the hands forward again so that our elbows are underneath our shoulders. Coming into a Sphinx pose. Opening up the chest to the front of the room. Again, imagine that scraping action. So without actually moving your elbows past your shoulders, kind of scraping the mat back towards you. Imagine drawing your heart forward. We're not throwing the head back here, so the spine's nice and long still. This feels too much, just coming back down onto the mat. Breathing nice and deeply here. Exhaling, sliding the hands back and coming all the way down to the mat. Breathing nice and deeply here for a moment. And then inhaling, tucking the toes, pushing up halfway. And exhaling, coming into another downward facing dog. Or tabletop if that feels better for you. Just listening to your body here. Breathing nice and deeply. Again, maybe finding some movement here. Maybe moving the hips slightly or the feet. Again, bringing some awareness to your chin, trying to keep it slightly tucked. So your spine's nice and long. And gazing at your big toes. One more inhalation here, finding some stillness. And then exhaling, releasing the knees down to the mat and coming into a hero's pose. All right, so we're gonna find some length here through the spine and inhale up into onto our knees. If this feels uncomfortable, just bringing a cushion underneath your knees or some kind of support there. Inhaling, finding that length through the spine, bringing the hands to the small of the back, palms facing, or fingers facing down, sorry. Inhaling, finding that length, squeezing the elbows towards each other. As we exhale, we're just going to open up the chest to the top of the room. Not looking for a big movement here, just finding a bit of camel pose. It might still bringing some engagement to the core here, so we're still thinking about keeping our back supported, our spine nice and long. Maybe as we inhale, finding a bit of extra length through the crown of the head. And maybe exhaling, releasing a little further, but making sure we don't crunch into our lower back, so keeping that awareness in the core. Breathing nice and deeply here for one more breath. And then inhaling, coming back to center, and exhaling, releasing into a child's pose. Just pausing here for a moment. Breathing nice and deeply here. Inhaling, walking those hands up either side of you. And exhaling, sweeping the legs out in front of you. Lovely. Maybe moving any fleshy bits out of the way so you're sitting on your sit bones. Rooting down through the whole of your legs there. Finding that lift through the crown of your head. If you find that you're struggling to have a nice straight back here, maybe bending your knees slightly, bringing a cushion or something underneath your knees to help you if you've got tight hamstrings, or bring a cushion or something under your bum so that you're a little bit elevated can help. Breathing nice and deeply, rolling the shoulders away from the ears. Again, bringing some awareness to your chin here, thinking about, instead of having a head hanging down or tilted back, think about trying to find that thread from the top of your head, pulling your spine nice and long, and then drawing your chin back, almost towards the back of your skull. Inhaling, finding some length here, rooting down through the hands either side of you. And then as we exhale, just walking the hands forward, hinging at the hips here, keeping that spine nice and long. And then rounding over the legs when you can't keep it flat anymore. And just breathing here nice and deeply wherever you get to. Finding some extra length as you breathe in. Maybe a slightly deeper fold as you exhale. Always leading with your chest, never with your head. Breathing nice and deeply. Inhaling, walking the hands back up. And exhaling into another staff pose for a moment. So bringing the hands down beside you, finding that nice long spine. Breathing nice and deeply. And we bring our legs into either to cross-legged or into a hero's pose. We're just going to have a bit of fun for a moment. So we're going to do a lion's breath, which I don't know if any of you have done that before, but it's just take it light-hearted, okay? It's a little bit silly. So we're going to walk the hands forward to the front of our knees, or if you're in cross-legged, just bring them to the tops of your knees, wherever you are, scraping them back down towards you. So kind of, as you can imagine, lion's breath, it's got a bit of a lion connotation. So bringing your hands into kind of mini claws in front of you, rolling the shoulders away from your ears, reaching through the fingertips, breathing nice and deeply, finding that length. And then taking a nice deep inhalation here. Maybe closing your eyes, really filling the whole of the lungs. And then exhaling out, making some noise as you breathe out. Really sighing it out. And then inhaling again, really filling the lungs. This time as we exhale, we're going to stick our tongue out and down towards the ground. That's why we're going to look a little silly. So inhaling again, finding that, really filling those lungs. And then exhaling, sticking the tongue out and breathing out nice and loud. One more inhalation here. Either sighing it out again this time, doing the same as last time, or maybe opening the eyes as well and looking up to the ceiling as you stick your tongue down to the ground. Told you it was silly. Breathing in and then exhaling. Inhaling again, finding that breath, breathing nice and deeply. Do that once more. And then we can relax and stop being a bit silly now. We'll come back onto our backs on the mat, releasing down to the ground, keeping the knees up, bringing the hands out beside us, palms facing down, making sure the legs are in line with the hips, toes to the ground. Breathing nice and deeply, maybe rolling the shoulders underneath you slightly to give you a bit of extra support. And then as we inhale, we're going to lift the hips up towards the sky, squeezing the inner thighs towards each other without actually letting them touch. Coming into bridge pose, breathing nice and deeply here. Think about bringing the chest to your chin, finding some space here in the chest, some lift in the hips and the back. One more full breath here. And then exhaling, releasing all the way back down to the mat. One vertebra at a time. We'll do that a couple more times. So bringing the hands down beside you. Again, rolling the shoulders underneath you. And then as we inhale, just lifting the hips. One vertebra at a time. Really finding some lift through the hips, grounding through the shoulders and the feet. Maybe rolling the shoulders underneath you this time, clasping the hands underneath you if that feels good for you. Breathing nice and deeply. Think about bringing that chest towards the chin. One more breath here. And then exhaling, releasing back down to the mat. One vertebra at a time. Do that once more. So rolling the shoulders underneath you, bringing the hands beside you. Inhaling, bringing those hips up, really rooting through the feet evenly. And the shoulders, think about bringing the chest up towards your chin. It doesn't have to touch, just imagining that or bringing your attention to that area. Breathing nice and deeply. Again, maybe walking the hands underneath you, bringing them together. Just listening to your body. And then on your next exhalation, releasing down to the mat, one vertebra at a time. And hugging the knees in towards your chest this time. Rocking side to side. Breathing nice and deeply. And then we'll bring our legs to each end of the mat, to the outside corners of the mat, letting the feet roll out to the sides. If you feel any tension here on your lower back, please bring your feet back up and let your knees support one another. Just finding a pose that feels comfortable for you. And then when you're ready, drawing your eyes to a close. Noticing how your body feels. Noticing your breath flowing in and out of your body. This time letting go of any control over it. Just noticing how you feel. With every inhalation, experiencing a sense of openness and growth. And with every exhalation, a feeling of deep relaxation and peacefulness. As you exhale, just allowing every part of your body to relax and be still. Your legs, your arms, your head. Just allowing every part of you to melt into the earth a little more with every breath. Just have a few more moments here in stillness. Still keeping your eyes closed, just bringing some awareness back into your body. Moving your fingers and toes. Bringing your knees back up towards the ceiling. And slowly rolling over onto one side. Maybe making a pillow here for your head with your hands. And you're gonna just slowly making your way up to a seated position. Still keeping your eyes closed. Bringing your hands to heart center. Rubbing your hands together to generate some heat. And placing them over your eyes. Opening your eyes as you bring your hands back to heart center. Namaste. Thanks for joining me, and